Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Army of the Dead, starring Dave Bautista, Ella Purnell, Amari Hardwick, Garrett Dillahunt, Anastasia de la Reguera, and Theo Rossi, directed by Zack Snyder. Now, I have seen this movie before, but from what I remembered, I actually fell asleep from what I remember, and I chose never to come back to it until this very show. So let's see how if I fell asleep this time. So let's get into it. We open with some soldiers going to a military base in Las Vegas while they crash into a couple of newlyweds and they get killed and turn into zombies after the newlywed man is distracted by his wife sucking on his dick, literally. And the military man gets killed after a zombie breaks into freedom and runs into a deserted city called Las Vegas, like I brought up. And this opening was very stupid, as the military men run out while the newlyweds were not paying close fucking attention to the road, as the writing in this scene, as well as this entire movie, is just so fucking painful. We get to the opening montage with a horrible version of the song Viva Las Vegas by Elvis Presley, although it's not Elvis singing, it's someone else with another lady. I can't even remember her name. And once again, director Zack Snyder can't help but do slow motion during this sequence, as well as not making the song original. While a wall is surrounding Vegas from zombies to come in, and after what I've heard about Rebel Moon, I'm very nervous that Zack Snyder will do it in that film too. Scott Ward, played by Dave Bautista, is approached while working at a burger joint by Blythe Tanaka, played by Hiroyuki Sanada, and his assistant asks him to put together a team of mercenaries, and $15 million belong to him, and to do a heist. And honestly, I don't care, as this movie does a very bad job at telling this plot. Scott's daughter Kate, played by Ella Purnell, watches some kids, and the mother asks Kate to watch her kids to get them out of there, as the mother hires someone by the name of Lily, aka the Coyote, as they get approached by a terrible soldier who checks their temperature while harassing them for no good reason whatsoever. And I hate every single character in this movie, which really makes me sad because I'm the biggest Dave Bautista fan after Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and his acting comes off hateful as well. While he has a dream about how he killed his wife in the past before any of this plot ever happened, and I could care less. Scott calls Tanaka and says he's in, and he starts off hiring Maria Cruz, played by Ana de la Reguera, Vanderho, excuse me, played by Amari Hardwick, Marianne Peters, played by Tig Notaro, Mikey Guzman, played by Raul Castillo, and Dieter, played by Matthias. Let me see if I'm saying this name right. Schweigofor or Ofer, something like that. I don't know. Forgive me if I said that wrong. And do I like or follow what is happening in this movie? Hell to the motherfucking no. The characters get prepared for the heist, and Mikey brings Damon and Chambers to assist him, and they learn the plan from Tanaka, and we get a dream sequence of them training with their guns and weapon choices and talk about what the plan is, if they can make it out alive, as people will die on this mission, as Damon runs out. And we get introduced to Tanaka's assistant Martin, played by Garrett Dillahunt. Forgive me if I said that wrong, who is an idiot throughout the movie, and this plan is terrible. Scott visits Kate to tell her about a mission he's going on for $15 million to use it for something good. While this plot has problems for damn sure, while Scott brings Kate to their mission just to see herself for herself, and they go on a bus to their military hideout and meet up with the Coyote, and Kate finds out the mother is gone, and she punches the Coyote because she brought them in the mother, and she had kids, and Kate decides to go with them, as she says she stays with them the whole time. and no going off on your own, and she'll do it later in the movie, I hate to say it, as she's a dumb character. And the cinematography in this movie looks horrible, as this is an ugly looking movie. They go on the other side of the gate to see it completely deserted and find a creature named Valentine that I swear to God looks like a zombie tiger, which is which it is, as that piece of CGI looked ugly, as this is one hell of an ugly movie, as it's ugly looking from the get go. The coyote shoots Bert Cummings in the foot for a peace offering for the zombies, as she knows he's a rapist, and I never knew him, nor did I care for the character, I'll say. The zombies take Cummings and continue on their mission while Cummings is killed. While I'm having a hard time with this plot, as it makes absolutely no fucking sense. So they can't make a sound nor point a gun to a light at a zombie's eyes, which I guess is a good idea as they go through all the zombies, and some idiot does as the zombie attacks our protagonists without arcs. I'll call them for the rest of the show, as Martin traps himself, in a safe spot, and Chambers knew he was up to something, as she was going to get killed, and Mikey is the one to blow her as well as a bunch of zombies up, and that was pretty bad acting in that scene. While it was boring, how could you make a boring zombie movie? This succeeded, as I was bored out of my mind. And I'm not here for the characters and then their arcs, which they don't have any. I just want to see them fucking die at this point. It takes too long, as this movie is way too long at 2.5 hours for a zombie picture, as it could have had an hour cut out of this damn thing. They get to the building where they'll steal from and try to break down from the upside and inside the building, as they have a hard time getting in the safe while Scott and Kate talk about Taifu, and they successfully get the safe open and find the money in the safe, as the zombie queen, I think is what that was, I'll say, was killed and had a baby of its own, while Kate leaves on her own to only get surrounded by zombies. And these effects look awful, as the editing choice were clumsy in this movie. The zombies go in the casino as Maria gets killed by one of them, as they have agility, but that's a thing a zombie should have after 28 days later. That's what this was kind of giving me a little bit of a vibe of, as Kate was infuriating to deal with. And same goes with Zack Snyder's take on zombies, as he did it in Dawn of the Dead, although to be fair, 28 Days Later did come first. I don't think I'm giving another movie a pass at this point, and 28 Days Later was the best one of that example. The coyote gets tricked twice by Martin because, again, he's a fucking idiot for portraying them twice, and Vanderohe fights the king zombie alongside Dieter, as he gets killed by a zombie while Martin is encountered by the zombie tiger, let's say. And I didn't care, as I'm starting to check out of this movie at this point, as I have 35 more minutes of this thing to go. By far, and this is by far the worst Zack Snyder movie in his filmography, in my opinion. Mikey gets killed by blowing himself up as they try to get out of the casino, and I'm having a real headache from this thing. The helicopter runs out of gasoline, as does the movie, while the coyote holds a zombie away from the survivors while having the zombie queen's head, and the zombie king gets the coyote killed while dropping her head, which was kind of funny, but in a way that was a little bit amusing. Kate finds the mother while Scott goes looking for her at the Olympus, and they do eventually find each other while the other woman gets bitten, and Kate kills the zombie, and Scott finds them in a zombie situation, and they go upstairs, and the chopper leaves them, and at this point, I blame Kate for ditching them in the first place, until the chopper comes back, and they take off, and the zombie king goes in the chopper, and fights off Scott, and eventually bites him, while the pilot gets killed and gets them through the gate, and they see some missile, and it blows up Vegas, and Scott blows up the zombie king's head, and the chopper crashes into the ground, and Kate has no choice but to shoot her father dead, which Shaun of the Dead did that better than this piece of shit did. But But first, he gives her some money making a living for herself, as there's other survivors in the world, and we once again get a slow motion scene, which is Zack Snyder's signature, which kind of annoys me. While Vandero finds a car to get out of Vegas with and goes to Utah and rents a plane while he makes the flight attendants drink some champagne, which is bad enough as it is, that which is not realistic, and he ends up being bitten by a zombie that we didn't see. And this climax is super careless, and I don't give two shits about it. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a 1.8 out of 10. This is one hell of an ugly looking movie, as the cinematography looks horrible in this movie. And I didn't care for any of the characters. And the acting in this is awful, even from Dave Bautista, who I'm a fan of after the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And he's really bad in this, as he's made much better films than this. I had a hard time with this plot, as it makes absolutely no sense. But it has a couple of good ideas, but other movies did it beat it to it, but the execution was very poor. As I kept falling asleep while watching this damn movie, as it's pretty boring for a zombie movie. How could you make a boring zombie movie? This one succeeded. This is by far the worst in Zack Snyder's filmography, as it was boring, painful to sit through, and this is a strong non-recommendation. And at the end of the day, I don't wish for me to ever think about this movie ever again, as I fell asleep during this every single damn time, as it was a very headache-worthy movie. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and now we'll be back with Rebel Moon, and the first half, I'll say, because it's a part one, part two thing. And until then,